So the next objective after finishing with the non-challenge is a KQL based one. The place is almost the same. We just need to visit a PI office in the Film Noir Island and then get started with the challenge. So let's see it. So this is the challenge that we're going to work on. This was displayed when we arrived to this part of the island. We have to provide a piece of information here to solve the challenge, and this is one of the few challenges where we're going to solve the challenge itself outside of the game interface, but it's still a good idea to go and pick up some of the extra info, the hints. So what we need to go do in this case is to get to a bit higher up here on the street in this city, and that's the PI office over there. So once it's in sight, you can just click on the entrance and your character will automatically jump there, and we can talk to Tango Call Box to get the hints. So I'm just gonna go through the dialogue real quick here, and we get 3 hints for this one. And I didn't manage to click any of them, so missed all of it. So KQL Kraken Hunt. There is 1 hint for 5 creation events. It's going to be in a table called 5 creation events table. Surprise, surprise. This is a tutorial. The Custo Trainer is the interface that we need to use. This is, I believe, mentioned in the objectives as well. So this is the same thing, and I already have this one open. So that's not really a big hint, but that interface is full with additional details, additional hints. And then outbound connections, we're going to find it in process events table. Now this is one of those challenges where you could have used a tool like ChatGPT, so a large language model based tool, and just ask for the KQL queries, but it's easy enough to come up with these KQLs on your own, and this interface is very friendly. So once you click on play, you have to do a little bit of setup here. I'm briefly going to talk about this, but it is very straightforward. So you have the SANS Holiday Hack Challenge. There's 2 additional challenges also available here if you want to try it out. I certainly will after I finish recording all the challenges, and wow, I'm just halfway through with these once I finish this video, so there's still plenty of more videos to go. And under the frequently asked questions section, there is a guidance on how to create your flea cluster for the Data Explorer. So there's Azure Data Explorer, and I already created with one of my accounts. You need a Microsoft account for this one. A cluster, you just follow basically the free cluster link here, and it will provide you a default. You can just accept the defaults for this challenge, and then you need to provide your cluster for the challenge. And this is going to be your identity, basically. Afterwards, you can just delete that cluster if you don't need it anymore. But that's the idea with these challenges. So if we go back to the beginning here, you need to set up your cluster with the script that you can see here. Now I tried as preparation for recording this video the run command here, and it was not really working out that well. We can give it a try. So this will open up here the queries window and populate this, but it failed because it had a bunch of blank lines. This time seems to be working well. This will significantly ease our process. You just run this, and this will load the data from these CSV files and then create the tables for us under our database in the cluster. So you can see authentication events, email, employees, file creation events, and so on. And you can see the result of this. So we can go and get started. There is a tutorial here, Train Me for this case, that walks you through on how to use the data set and some basic Custo query. So you can see employees and how the take 10 will take 10 records. The Custo is very similar to SQL. If you've never worked with Custo, it's pretty easy to get accustomed to it. Now, if you have multiple queries, I do recommend, instead of clicking always on run, to do what the cool kids do, and that is shift enter on the query. You need to select part of the query that you want to execute, but you can have multiple queries in the same Custo interface when you entered your queries. This is true for all the Microsoft interfaces that use KQL or Custo query language. And there are a few additional things here, and then they will ask you, so this is not part of the challenge, but I thought it would be a good warm-up to get accustomed to Custo. So they ask you to provide the which employee has the IP address of this IP. So if you run the queries, you will see that in the employees database, I'm just going to close this one, we don't need that one. In the employees database, we have the IP address field. So that means that if I just search for the IP address that they requested, I'm just copy pasting these in from my notes, we will be able to find the, what are they looking for? The employee name. So we can just copy this one. If we right click on any of these cells, you can copy and then paste it in. Get pretty much the same solution here. So these are just light little exercises to get you started. Okay, I see. I think the copy doesn't work that well, but if you open it, then it works much better. How many emails Santa Claus received? So this is, well, you can do this one way or another. If you look at the number of records here, you will see that's 19. I wonder if they taught before how to use the count operator. Yeah, I'm not sure if they did, but if you just add count to this one, also gives you 19. I think it will come later, so that's also correct. And then they ask you, how many unique websites did Rudolph Red-Nose visit? Now, this is kind of interesting because the interface is broken. So there are different ways to approach this. You can do it with two queries, or because it's very similar to SQL, you can do joins. Joins work pretty much the same way. You have to define here in the kind parameter what kind of join you want to have. Most cases it's going to be a left join, or left outer join is the sophisticated way of saying left join. And then you can do a join on a column. But if that column has a different name, you can also just rename it with a project rename clause. And then, yeah, var clause is for filtering, as we saw it earlier. Distinct URL will count the number of distinct URLs, and then you do a count at the end. So this comes up with 59 records. If you enter 59, it does not accept it. So maybe we were wrong. My initial thought was that they're probably checking for, because the question was how many unique websites. So we probably need to, let me just do this real quick. Maybe instead of just counting, you know, these URLs, if they are on the same domain like these two, so this is all docsandgoogle.com. Just zoom in, probably this will be better for the video as well. So if you have docsandgoogle.com, that count as one. So here I use the parse URL function, which is very convenient. I just take the host, so we don't need to do any parsing. You could do more manual parsing with KQL. KQL is amazing, and this one is 41. Okay, so maybe the answer is 41, and no, that's not accepted. And what they do is they really just count the unique URLs, not the domains. So the answer should be, and this query does execute on the data set and comes back with 59, which was our first solution. So never mind, this is not part of the challenge, it's just for a warm-up. However, in order to start the challenge, you already need to answer how many craft person elves are working from laptops. And this one I answered using the following query. So where the role is craft person elf and the host name has a laptop in it, and then we do a distinct count on them, and this comes back with 25. So just omitting the discount, the discrete count part. Rather, you see the various names of these little elves. Let's take the 25 and submit that. And off we go. So yeah, this offers us a badge. I'm not gonna fill this one out, but I do recommend getting that badge because, you know, badges are always cool. All right, so the first part here tells us about a phishing attempt. This malicious link was clicked, and we have 3 questions. I'm going to answer these with one single query. And the first question is, what is the email address of the employee who received the phishing email? So who got an email with this email attachment or link? Well, in this case, it's a link. What is the email address that was used to send this spear phishing email? So the sender, and what was the subject? Now, to figure out the name of the fields, I think the first thing that you have to do is take a couple of records here, or you can also just go and look up the names of the fields here, and with the project you can select only the fields that you're interested in. So here there was a link field, so I just pasted in the intel that we got from the question, and then we're looking for the recipient, the sender, and the subject. So the recipient was Alabaster. That's the employee name, but it's asking for an email address, so they do expect an email address here, even though the field has email, employee name instead of email, and then the subject. So you submit these, and you pass the first level. But there's more. So case 2 is on more on that phishing email. So what was the role of the victim? What was the host name of the victim machine? What was the IP address of the victim's machine? So this is still in the no, it's not in the email column anymore. It is a table rather. It's in the employees table. So we can see, just open the employees table as well, that there is a name, there's a host name, and there's also IP address, and we also have an email address field. So we can use this one, and you could do a join on the previous table to kind of combine all these together, but we already know the email address from the previous question, so we can just do a simple filter on that, and then gather the role, which was head elf. Sounds pretty important. The host name sounds like a default one, and then the IP address. This is looking like a default generated host name for a Windows system. All right, we are making progress here. Well, that's not good. What happened next? So here, what time did Alabaster receive the malicious link, and then what file was dropped to his machine shortly after downloading this malicious file? So this one, I kind of did the lazy approach, because you would have to collect from the employees and the outbound network events. I'm not sure if it's mentioned here, but the outbound network events has a timestamp and URL and source IP address. So we can just take his IP address and do a filter on that. But I took a lazier approach and I just used the join. So from the, I think it was the employees table. Yeah. Yeah, from the employees table, I am pulling. What am I pulling here? It's not even needed. So, okay, for some reason I used the join. Maybe it's for the second part. No, I don't think so. Okay, so I made a mistake here, but it doesn't matter if you're joining or not. It should work just like this, I think. So outbound events. I think this is a simplified one. Yeah. Looks pretty much the same. I just copy this one. Yeah, it looks the same. So I think that's enough. Actually, you don't need to. Let me just double check in my notes. Yeah, it looks exactly the same. So this is more than sufficient. I'm gonna replace that. I think I might have done a join for this one, and then file creation events. Here I did do a join. So the employees table and the file creation events are here. File creation events is the one that we need to determine, once we got this timestamp, what happened after that timestamp. So we're doing here a filter based on the time. I am taking the email address and use this one as a filter because I didn't take note of the username of Alabaster. It's probably Alabaster, but I'm joining here the two tables together just out of laziness again, and I'm joining them on username. I could have just looked up the username of Alabaster here and then used the file creation events table. So this, I'm taking 2 here, is right at the time when he received the email with the link. And this email had this docx file there, if you remember. And right after that, there's a new file created, which is this giftwrap.exe one, which is not suspicious sounding at all. Okay, let's continue. So we have a host that is potentially compromised. There was an executable dropped on it. The attackers created a reverse tunnel connection. What was the IP address connection forwarded to? What was the timestamp when they first enumerated network shares? And what was the host name of the system where they moved laterally? I think this one was the toughest part of the challenge because you have to work on file creation events and figure out the events that occurred. So in this case, I did not do the join, but I just took the username of Alabaster and then went to the process creation events. So imagine that I'm now creating this second query here, and I keep the time filter here. So right after he received the link, and see what process creation events occur. And right off the bat, we have the first one here that is a little bit suspicious, cmd.exe. And then if I can drag this one here, I'm probably just gonna copy this one so we have a better look. So there's this event happening, which is probably not great, right? So this process is seemingly doing some sort of forwarding here to this IP address, well, on port 22. So I'm not gonna grab that port number here. Was the timestamp when the attackers enumerated network share on the machine? So here I decided to do a little change on the filter, and I added contains share. Now has is the preferred way of doing it, but has in this case, does not return everything that I'm looking for. So even though contains is a little bit less efficient, I don't really care about efficiency at this point. And they do have here the first event when we see a net share command. So that is what they're asking for. That is network enumeration. And then the second thing, which is also answered by the same question, is the lateral movement part. This is the name of the system. From the command, you need to grab this one. And this took me a while to realize that there's a second event, because if you're just run a command like this will list out a lot of events, but this one with the net use command is pretty much, I think, towards the bottom. Yeah, here down at the bottom. So it's a good idea to do this extra filtering for shares. Anyways, even though this net share is on top, you might just accidentally miss it. So it's always a good idea to go and check all the events for this. So did I take already this one? Yeah, so let's submit the answers here. And now on to the next one. So this will be a little bit toughy because we need to decode things. Just clear this one out. And the question is, what was the attacker's first base64 encoded PowerShell command? Was the name of the file the attacker copied from the file share, and the attacker has likely exported data from the share. What domain name was the data exfiltrated to? So a ton of questions related to encoded commands. And the first question was on PowerShell. So I'm just modifying this previous term, this KQL query, and instead of share, I'm looking for PowerShell. And these are the ones that we're getting. There's no encoded command here, but we do have PowerShell and free CMD exes running PowerShell. So the first one here, if you copy this one out, is actually probably not like this. But it is a PowerShell command that has an encoded command there. Now I used CyberChef, and then in the last part of the challenge, you will realize that PowerShell can also do base64 decode. Not PowerShell. KQL can also do base64 decoding and encoding for you, which is not a surprise. But I just used CyberChef for this one. And this is seemingly a benign PowerShell command. So let's move on to this one here. This is just VMI method, client SDK, and so on. So it doesn't look too malicious to me. This second one, however, seems to have a reversed string. And we need to, well, you can read it backwards. It's kind of easy to see that this is some sort of text file. We can just use, for example, the reverse string function with CyberChef, but I will show you how you would do that in PowerShell. So I think this one, reverse input string. Oh, this is giving me some weird output here. By character, byte, string, reverse. Okay, weird. I'm not really sure why this is not giving me the reverse input string. Okay, I think I may have tried this one and I was kind of surprised that it was not working. Let me know in the comments how you would do that in oh, because it's from base64. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, that looks better, right? I did notice my issue here. So this is how it is reversed, but the thing is, it should be feasible to just use PowerShell to reverse this string. Now the problem with that, just copy it again, is that this is incorrect. So there's a flaw in the reversing algorithm here. So this will not work. We still need a part that reverses this. This is just going to concatenate all the strings. So it's splitting it up and then concatenates it, but they forgot to reverse it. So I think they made a mistake here. And I do have the reversed version of this string here. I can find it. Yeah. So it should look like this. So you need to reverse the characters and then you will get the entirety of the string. Now, what was the question here? When was the first command? Okay, so this looks like the first one. Take that. Was the name of the file that they copied from? I believe this one we had over here. I'm just gonna turn off base64. Oh no, I need to do base64 and then reverse it. Yeah. Naughty or nice list was the file. And then electricity data from the file share with domain name was the data exfiltrated to. So this is not this command, but probably this second one here. So it's over here. And again, the same thing here. This part is probably not even something that I want to execute, but I can take this portion of the PowerShell and this will be executed here. This is safe because it's just reassembling a string. It does not execute. I think this is IEX, by the way. So if I remember correctly from my time when I solved it. And we're looking for here, this domain here is what they had in the command. There we go. Just one more step that we have left. What is the name of the executable the attackers used? Final malicious command. What is the command flag used alongside the executable? So this one is this last command here, also base64 encoded. And it seems like that the last executable is down with Santa. And then, oops, where it is, -- wipe all was the flag that they used. And there we go, we got another batch for this one. And a final challenge where we need to base64 decode this string over here. So this is a demonstration how KQL can do the same thing as CyberChef or any other tool for that matter. And the final flag is beware the cube that wobbles. So I'm gonna copy that one, and there's nowhere to submit this one, so this is done. But we still need to submit this final flag under the objectives. And that concludes this challenge. 2 out of 5 rather, Christmas trees is a pretty good one as an estimate. I think the 4th step was a little bit trickier, so I might give this one maybe a 3, but then it will be on the same level as the cartridge one. So yeah, 2 out of 5 is pretty appropriate for this one. And that concludes this challenge. It was a fairly long one. If you use some other tool like ChatGPT or Bard, they can definitely provide you with the KQL queries, I believe, or well, in this case, probably you're supposed to use the Bing or Copilot tool to provide you the solutions or help you with the solutions. I chose not to do this. I used it for the Azure one, and that was enough for me. I'm pretty confident with KQL, so this was faster for me to solve it that way. But you might have a different solution, so I'm eager to hear about it. When I'm recording this video, people already submitted the write-ups in the Discord channel, so I will look at those once I'm done recording all the other videos, but there's still a lot more to go, so see you in the next one.